All of us as international students have heard you will not get a job without networking, but no one tells us how to do it. In this episode of Mentara Mindscapes, we uncover hacks and strategies to build meaningful long-term relationships so that we can boost our career prospects as an international student in a foreign country. Hello everyone, I am Avinash, the founder of Mentara, and you are watching Mentara Mindscapes, a podcast where I host international students from top global programs. In this episode, I have with me Aman Kuril. Aman is a friend from NIT Sudakkal and is pursuing his MEM at Duke University. Recently, he's completed his internship at Micron Technologies and he will be helping us with his strategies and hacks that he used to get that offer and opening multiple different opportunities for himself in the US. So Aman, as you mentioned, like you start the process, you reach out to a professional and it's more on long-term relationship building rather than short-term gains or just seeking reference. So I personally faced this problem while networking. I was not able to continue that relationship over multiple calls. Like the first call went great. I researched their profile, I researched their work, the company, and I had a list of questions I wanted to ask. They were kind enough to spend over an hour, sometimes a couple of hours on the call, and everything went great. Connected on WhatsApp, sent a message, and I believe most of us are able to do this up till this stage. What's important or where most of us fail are beyond this of how to maintain when we use the word long-term relationship, what do you actually mean? So could you give us some tips on or how do you approach going beyond the first call, going beyond that, like how do you stay in touch with the concerned person, or do you like anything that you do to keep that relationship going on, keep that outflow of messages, and anything that you might do to continue that relationship to a longer time frame?
Right. So I think what we feel about networking is that we need to get in touch with them every now and then to maintain that relationship. But what life happens to everyone, like all of us tend to get busy. There are times when we can't even get time for our friends. So it's very important that the relationship that we are forming, it doesn't have to be burdensome for the other person. So what I do essentially is that I want to put up a great impression in the first call. I want to ask some questions that makes them feel that I've thoroughly done my research, or something that makes them feel like go wow or something like that. Alongside that, if there are any festivals or events that I feel that are relevant to them, I just send them that event, or just wish them maybe on Thanksgiving or on Diwali or something like that. That's all I do. I mean, I don't like to put more calls than necessary because even they have lives, and like
Yes.
they also tend to get busy. So it's very important to keep it like very chill, if for the lack of a better word. But yeah, I think so far that has worked for me, because even if I go to them after some point of time and ask for the same thing, they are willing to help. So I think it's important to understand that it is not friendship, it's a normal professional connection and should be treated
Mm.
as such.
Yes. Yes. So that's a very good point to differentiate friendship from professional networking or professional relationship forming, where you don't need to reply to their statuses and keep in
Yeah,
touch every
yeah,
now and then to just bring yourself up in their chats that they remember you. Probably the
yeah,
first impression does the job. So
right.
moving ahead, you talked about personalization. You talked about research while reaching out to someone. What exactly is the right way to approach someone when you're reaching out to them on LinkedIn?
What I mean by research is that I tend to go on their LinkedIn profile and see the work history and the education they have gone into. I would also like to see any posts that they have made. Let's say if someone has made a post about Web3 technology and they're interested in it, and if I share the same interest, I'm probably going to ask them why are they interested or what are they following. And if, let's say, that builds up to a common link that both of us are interested in, we can end up talking about that. So it's important that you have a list of questions in your mind, but then keep the conversation based on the flow, right? And
Mm.
I talked to this one individual who was head of product at one point in time, and his work was majorly around personalization. Now I really wanted to learn about personalization and what it does. So I asked him about various personalization policies that they are following, so that it's ethical at the same time as
Hmm.
well as can be personalized. So he answered that question. So it's always about seeing their LinkedIn or any other social platform that they're on. Few of them are also on Medium and stuff. So if that's what I'm saying, that if at all you're able to bond on a thing that is not related to work, I think that tends to get for a better relationship. Like with my manager, we bonded over Kobe Bryant. Now, whenever we talk about mama mentality and things like that. So that kind of builds a relationship over a long period of time. So if you can gauge your way around things like that, or just ask about some other things, that will be really helpful.
Probably the learning here is that we need to understand that person in front of us is also human. They have
Yeah,
interests outside of work. They are also
yeah,
passionate about sports, food, travel, and whatnot. So let's not start seeing networking as a professional requirement to get a job. Rather, it be a personal connection with someone in international country. And
yeah.
moving ahead with the mistakes part, could you also walk us through some of the common networking mistakes that you have seen in your peers or probably students that you came across in your Duke journey?
Uh, One would be the lack of politeness. I feel that, we are busy, so we tend to send very concise messages, but we forget to realize that the other person is kind of doing a favor on us. So you cannot demand something from them. It has to be a request in the most polite way possible. This is something that I have done one or two times, and I have been very guilty of it. And that is like taking the name out in a wrong way. Like if someone's
Mm.
name is Archana and if you miss out an H or something like that, it doesn't look well. So I know that we are in hurry and sometimes we tend to message so many people on LinkedIn that we miss out few things here and there. But it puts up a wrong impression in front of the other person. The person that I did to, she was very kind enough to still help me, but few others wouldn't, right? And whenever you want a referral, if you just say, hi, I'm this, I want a referral, and it's not going to work for you. If at all you're sending a very brief message that is just for the sake of referral, send about the things that you have done in tandem with the job description and what can help you. So I think it's about keeping things very polite and knowing that the other person is doing you a favor.
Also, when we use the word long-term relationship, we don't see the other person that you're connecting to. Like again, this is my insights from what Aman mentioned, and also bringing down some of my experiences. Don't see the person as director of product at X. See the person as someone with an Indian origin living in US, navigating the life as an international student, then becoming XYZ CXO of XYZ companies. Sometimes it's generally over chat ki hello, how are you doing, and like, or bhai kaisa chal raha hai, and he would reply sometimes. So it's
Yeah.
that level of like friendliness that we have brought in. I wouldn't use the word he's friends with me. It's still a professional relationship, but now we are beyond talking in plain professional language, because we have discussed our personal interests together on calls for over hours. Definitely, there are a lot of Indians in the US job market and probably all across the globe, and we find some sort of comfort when we are reaching out to Indians, sometimes alums, sometimes our grad school alums. But how does one navigate the cultural differences while networking with an American professional, like and or companies or recruiters from university recruiters? What else, if you have done this, what how has been your experience doing this, and any insights if you have for us?
Right. One question that I always ask them is, what do you do outside of work? That is such a simple question, and like Americans, they're usually so polite and nice to answer that question. And there's so many. So in India, we usually talk about cricket or maybe traveling, but they do so many things over here, like hiking. They go on fishing. Some people like to run. They're following marathons, and some people like to barbecue. So if you just ask them something, they tell you about it, and they would be more than happy to chat about it. And once you get a common link between it, and if you ask a question out of curiosity, it leads to a better bond, right? So like one of the people that I know, they really like to go run, and I ran back in 22, 23, but I don't anymore. So I just added on how I used to run as well, and what kind of tips would you give me to go again and run with a hectic gym schedule and stuff like that. So it's about asking more questions in a right way that doesn't make them feel burdened, but like having that curiosity. That's why I kind of have curiosity as a tenet of everything that I like to do, so that people know that you're also coming from the right place. And that's how I've been able to bond with like so many of
And on a funny note, I start with how do I pronounce your name? Because most of the
yeah.
times I have done this wrong. Like working, like in my last job, I used to work with a lot of international folks because we were building in the Web3 ecosystem. So most of the times I went on in full confidence and pronounced their first name wrong, and they're very kind enough to like tell me that, hey Avinash, my first name is this. And from that time onwards, I started asking people, how do I pronounce your first name? Especially, I have noticed among Europeans and Native Americans that they have a life much bigger beyond work. It's unlike us, where we take pride in salaries, ranks, and working at X company, earning X crores. Life out there is very different. They take pride in hikes, running marathons, going to festivals, taking long drives across the country. So
Yeah.
it's good to connect. If, you never know what kind of common connect you might come across if you start talking to them in a free, like irrespective of the company boundaries and putting them into boxes.
Yeah, and
So
just one thing. So when I mention about the
hmm,
question, what do you do outside of work? I don't ask that in first go, right? I try
mhm,
to I try to keep it a bit professional in first or two meetings.
hmm,
Maybe once I know that I'm going to work with them a couple of more times, then I ask them something like that, and or over
understood.
lunch or barbecue or something like that. So it's important to understand the context of the meeting. You shouldn't go in the first meet where you're discussing your work deliverables, and you should ask first, what do you do outside of work? That won't be the right question. So yeah,
Yes, yes,
I
and
just
that
wanted to
might
highlight.
that might be the rude part of actually doing this on a work call, or probably in the first call where they don't know you and then you are trying to deep dive into their
Post.
personal life, because privacy is a huge thing outside of India. India, where
Yeah.
we don't bother about it. I would love to know about your like general progression that you have uh, like tried or developed over like experience doing networking. How do you start, like start on LinkedIn? How do you gradually develop that relationship? It's not always possible to meet everyone in person, so what do you do in those cases? And like in general, could you cover us, walk us through the different styles that you follow across people and across contexts?
Yeah, right. So for the let's say if there are like 10 companies that I really want to get into, the people that I'm going to network with them, it's definitely going to be more long term. So I try to, again, going back to the previous things that we discussed, it's about putting up a great first impression, talking to them about the company, their work, showing a curiosity, and talking through your words on your experience, so that even they would know that okay, he has done or she has done something similar, right? So it's very important to highlight highlight your bit as well, because otherwise it would just become a one-sided conversation, and people would appreciate if you throw in your insights as well. So that's one. And on LinkedIn it always starts like that, and after that, if the conversation really goes well, I tend to congratulate them if they go on a new post, or if they go join a new company, or if they put up a post that I really resonate with, so I comment something on it. So these are like small ways where you can keep in touch. Again, it's a professional connection. You don't need to ask them every morning, how was your weekend or how was your day. We don't need to do that.
Yes,
We just keep it professional. The time that you're interacting with them, you should be at your best, so that they keep on remembering you and correlate your personality, let's say, with excellence or dedication or something that you would like others to perceive you the way you are. So I think doing that honestly helps. And in office, it's about gauging the vibe of the company, the people, asking them questions. It all depends on the context, but the general template is to be curious, be polite, and be respectful.
keep it's a numbers game, so you keep doing it until you start reaching out to the right folks and start getting the right number of calls, and then build up and follow up on those to build strong relationships with them over time. So Aman, this one very exciting part of Duke University, there's a huge alum base across
Hmm.
different verticals. Like even MEM is almost 25 years old now. To take the least, there are at least 3,000 to 4,000 folks in the job market who are working across continents, who have had studied at Duke MEM program. So could you please walk us through what role does Duke Alumni Network has played for you to land internship, land jobs, or just to form meaningful relationships with the alums? and how helpful has it been in terms of opportunity, like searching for opportunities, and also in general professional development?
Right. So one thing that I've learned from them is to definitely give back to the community. That I saw right from my application process. I believed in that, but I started believing in it more once I talked to them. And when I came to Duke, everyone was trying to search for part-time jobs. It was that I talked to one of the Duke alums who told me that he had not worked anything related to part-time in his first semester, which helped him in getting an internship. I resonated with that. That kind of led me to not doing any part-time work throughout my first semester, and that helped me get my internship sooner. So these little things, they help me with my course selection, they help me with my resume, my edits, my how am I putting in my portfolio. So anything that I've asked them, they have been very helpful. And again, it's about giving value back. So I try to give back as much as I can. I know that I cannot give back so much because I'm not in that position, but to give whatever I think I can. So I think that has led to some meaningful relationships, and they have helped me in every application process. So I think just to be in Micron, I cannot possibly credit just my own self. It's because of a lot of Duke alums who have helped me along the way, to help me how to network, to help me how to identify people who could be good for networking, and so on. So I think they have played a huge role in my growth.
Understood. And that's very relevant and useful for all the students who will be going this fall, of prioritizing your part times, prioritizing the resources at hand, and also learning how to approach the alums with the right set of questions. Because if you go lost to them, they're too busy in their jobs, they have a life of their own. Like, you can't expect them to handhold you and then help you figure out what goes in the resume and what goes here, what goes there. You need to be self-aware, do your own research, probably talk to friends across in the batch, and then reach out to alums, specific alums that you might have figured out from your alma mater, at undergrad alma mater and whatnot, and then seek guidance, personalized guidance that can actually be helpful to you, rather than just reaching out to thousands of people and saying my alums don't help me. So that's a wrong approach to it. So probably you can work, like, people can learn this and approach it in the right way to get more results, to get more people, responses from more people. Aman, one thing that I would love to learn more about is there are a lot of events that happen in the United States. So myself working in the Web3 ecosystem, there were close to at least 2 events every month at international level. People used to fly to the US, attend events. I would love to know if you have had an opportunity to attend in-person networking events of sorts.
The max that I've done for a networking event is to go to career fairs that were held in my college. So the idea was to talk about myself, get the contact details of the recruiter, and then build on top of that. Other than that, there are a lot of networking events that happen, and a lot of people aiming for full-time roles go there. But as per my information and knowledge, they were not very relevant for internships, so I chose not to go there. But again, if you want to build network, it's helpful whenever you go there, right? But like I told you, that I was aware of the market conditions, and I just wanted to singularly focus on internship search. So I just did everything and anything that I thought was best for my internship search. But again, other than that, there were few, I wouldn't say networking events, but I wanted to get acquainted to the American culture. So I signed up for a few events that could help me introduce to more Americans over events such as Thanksgiving and all of those things. So I did all of that, but not any event as such.
Got it. And I believe this is very helpful for everyone moving out. Moving to a new country, you need to understand the culture of the place you're moving to, because until unless you respect people out there, they will not, you cannot expect a similar treatment back. If you are completely unaware of what's happening around you, you don't know what Thanksgiving is, you don't know what farmer market is, you just you just don't know things, and you're walking as an international student, I'm here to get a job on an F1 visa, I will make millions and then leave the country. You will not have a great experience. If you really want to enjoy the American life beyond owning Mustangs and beyond getting paychecks in crores, to actually live a life, you need to understand, talk to more, interact with more Americans. From what I know, they're very friendly. You just need to be respectful to them. They are very patriotic at the same time. So you need to be respectful to the country and to them, and they'll be more than happy to help you. Now that you know how to approach people from your domain of interest and build long-term relationships, it's time to put in a job and internship application very strategically. Watch this video here to learn the strategies that helped Aman land an internship within few months of landing in the US.